Hello, CAC Blender Tutorials, and today we're going to be continuing the rig we've been making. So we're going to be adding shape to the bones, or bone shapes. So let's start with the head. So I'm in pose mode. I'll have my gizmo set to local. And right now I have the head bone selected. We'll start there. So I'll position my cursor at the selected bone. Now make note of the axes. So I have X aligns the positive direction, Z, Y. So right now it just follows the world axes, so I don't have to do anything special, but I will for later bones. So I'm going to go into object mode, add mesh circle. You can see this aligned correctly. Let me name this. So I'll call it shape dot head control. So this head control, see this bone name itself is head control. So just to keep everything well organized, I'm doing shape dot the name of the bone. You don't have to, just what I'm doing to help keep it organized. The other thing I'm going to do is create a new collection. I'm going to call this shapes, and I'll keep all of my shapes inside the shape collection. Okay, and what this allows me to do is I can easily just hide all the shapes. Okay, so now let me go back into pose mode for my rig. In the tab for the bone, relations, viewport display. I want to display a custom object. So I want to display my head control object. Scale, I'll just leave it to 1. I don't want to scale it to the bone length, so uncheck that. Now, actually, let me double check. Yeah, so you can see it still scales with the world, but it won't scale smaller than the bone, which is nice. That made bone shapes a lot harder in the past. So now what I can do with this setup, so this is now my head bone. Not replaces the head bone, it literally is my head bone. What I can do now, so if you have a solid shape, you can just hit wireframe. This is already just a wire, so let's keep it here. I'll go back into object mode, and when I select my shape object, I go into edit mode, you can see it changes the shape of the bone itself. So let me rotate it. I want it to go around the head and have a teardrop shape, so you can tell easily which way the head is orientated. So rotate it 90 degrees upon the X. I want it to go through the center of the head. So I'll snap it to the center of the head like that. And then let me shrink it to the size of the head. So that looks good. Give myself some room. And then I'll turn on proportional editing for this. Set it to, I'll set it to sharp. Grab Z, shrink this down. Something like that. I like this shape. So there's the bone shape that goes around the head. When we go into the rig, you can see this bright green ring around the spider. That is our head shape. And now ultimately what we'll be doing in the future is we'll be able to turn off in front. Now let me hide my shape. And you can see that it'll be very easy to see this around the model. Now we could be doing is we could be using like boxes, but I want to use something rounded because it's not very Minecraft-like, so it's going to stand out even more against the blocky rigs. Okay, so now let's go on to the rest. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just copy this bone that we used for the head and use that for the rest. So do a shift. I need to leave pose mode. So now what I can do is just duplicate this bone, or this shape, and then I'll be able to apply it to the rest. Let me turn in front on again. I still need that. So we can go into pose mode. I'll select this bone, snap the cursor to that bone, back into object mode, snap this to the cursor. And now when I go into pose mode, you'll see that this bone's axes are different. See, now it's working. Now the gizmo is just showing the parts that are not limited. So I don't know why that wasn't working in an earlier video. See, this one still shows the transform arrows. Actually, let me see if that's working now. Maybe I can lock. Oh, very nice. See, all of that's starting to work. So anyway, now what I'm going to do is orientate my object to follow these axes. So I'm going to unlock these so I can see how they are. So Z is down. So basically I've got it rotated 190 degrees about the x-axis. Let me get back into object mode, select my bone. I'll rotate it along the x-axis by 180 degrees. See, it's starting to look close to where I want it to be, except this is the wrong way. So let me go back into pose mode. Now let me replace this bone. So I'll do viewport display, custom object. I haven't renamed that object yet. Let me stop and do that now. Shape.head control, we'll do this abdomen control. And you can see that it appears much smaller right there because we need to undo the bone scale. And now this is looking pretty good, but we're going to need to make it a little bit bigger. So the spider head was 8 pixels by 8 pixels. This is 8 by 10. So what I'm going to do is in object mode, I'll be able to edit this mesh. The first thing I'm going to do is I'll rotate it 180 degrees about the world y-axis, so 180. So now it's pointed up correctly. I'll move it to the center of the abdomen. Now, so 10 divided by, so let me just do some quick math. So 10 divided by, let's see, actually it's 12 divided by 8. It's just 50% larger. So I'll scale it to 1.5 in the x. And then it looks a little bit bigger than it's supposed to be relative to the head. Is that? Okay, no, no, it's 12 long. I was thinking the wrong way. It is just going to be 10 divided by 8, 1.25. So for that, I'm just going to scale it in the x direction, 1.25. I get kind of the oblongish shape of the abdomen itself. So that's just the look I'm going to go for. You can make these shapes whatever you want. I am going to go for this shape. So yeah, I'll have it be roughly the same size every other way. That looks good. Okay. So if I hide the bone shapes, go back into pose mode, you can see that now my abdomen bone is working just fine. Okay. Now we'll do, let's see, which bone do we want to do now? Let's do the body, and I'll also have it be a teardrop shape. So go back into object mode, show my shapes again. So this is the abdomen control shape. I'll start with the other control shape for the head because it's the size that I want. It's not stretched out. Shift D to duplicate that. I'll also rename it now to be body control. And now what I'm going to do is I know right away that from edit mode, so this is the origin of my object. So I'm going to have to move it back to the origin. And also, getting a little bit ahead of myself, but this is going to be a 6 by 6 instead of 8. So 6 by 8 is going to be 3/4. So I can just scale it by 0.75 to decrease the size of it. But let me think, because the body is the main part that you're going to be holding the spider by and controlling it, I might do something to give a little bit more, just to make it stand out a little bit more. So let's position the bone first. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves too far. I'm still figuring out a little bit of what I'm going to do, and until then, let's set this up. So the body control, I don't want to scale it with the bones. And so there you see it. And actually, I need to set the cursor position to the abdomen, or to the body. Back into object mode, position that at the cursor. Go into edit mode, and let's see. I think I'm going to do something a little bit fancier here. I'll move it here. Grab the point at the top and the point at the bottom. Let's see what this will do. Turn on proportional editing. Let's set it like that. Let's see. Do I like that? Let me see what it looks like in pose mode. Yeah, looks pretty interesting. Don't like that you can't tell which one's the top and which one's the bottom. So maybe I'll take that part and I'll just move it back a little bit. If I take this part and move it back down a little bit. It's just completely artistic of how you decide that you want it. Let's see. Set this to be smooth, and I'll send the rest of this back. I'll go back as far. Let's see there. I think I'll end up leaving it with that. So it's a little bit more interesting looking, and you could spend however long you want making these shapes. So I'll just leave it at these. And now we need to go on and make go ahead and make the leg, just to get all these leg shapes out of here. Position the cursor at the leg, go into object mode. For the mesh, I'm going to add I will do a circle. These are going to be smaller, so I'm going to cut these down to just 16. Just 16 vertices, do a radius of 0.5. The orientation on this one, let's see. So for the legs, the Y we know is facing in that direction. So rotate Z 90. Needs to go the other way. And now I need to rotate it about the Y 180 because we had the local, we need to rotate it about the local y by 180. So there we go, because we had the x rotation positive going down. So with the right hand rule, this is the right one. I already know part of what shape I want, so I'm going to duplicate this, rotate it about the x by 90, duplicate it, rotate it about the z by 90. Well, I wasn't duplicating it right. So duplicate it, rotate z 90, duplicate, rotate x 90. There we go. So now we just have these balls. And I might do is, I think I could take, let's see. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it as a ball for now. So we'll just leave it like this. Let's go into pose mode. Select one of our joints. Select object, shape. Forgot to rename that. I'm just going to stop and rename that now. So this is going to be shape dot. I'll do legs since it'll be used for a lot of different bones. Just make sure I named that right. Yeah, shape dot. And then I'll also make sure this is part of the shapes collection. Okay, now back to the rig. Disable scaling it with the bone. So now you see that it's positioned correctly, although it looks awful. So now we'll select our mesh and we'll start editing it. So let's go to the top. So by scaling it so it isn't larger than the leg, you wouldn't be able to see it. So I want to make it just bigger than the leg by a bit. So you can see it poking out of the leg in the different parts. You can see the leg there. Let me turn off the X-ray off on the rig. You'll see how this would appear. So it's enough for you to see it from all sides. You can also tell which leg it's coming from. So let's see, the joint is, I believe, right there. So I don't want to cover up the joint too much. So I want the joint to be easily visible. So let's put it there. And now let's go back to the rig. Let's swap this bone for the legs shape. Again, turn off the bone scale. It's a lot easier to see these when you have it like this. So we'll just do the same for all of them. Just copy that text. Don't want to scale it to length. All right, you have all of those. You need to turn X-ray back on to do the rest of these. Make sure I turned the location off on those. Yes, and this one has all those gizmos activated. Right, now set all the shapes for these. And the last one we have for here is going to be the root bone. Pretty sure it's, no, we still have the look target to do. Okay, so I'm liking the way this is. I'm just going to do the root next. Just to get that massive bone out of the way. So let's do add mesh. We'll just do a circle. So this bone goes straight up. So which way is its axis orientated? Okay, yeah, so it's just easy translation. So we'll just rotate this about the x-axis by 90. And that will be enough. So now we'll rotate this by the x-axis by -90 to put it back down. Scale it to encompass the entire object. That's the way I like to do it. And then I'll mark the front. So I'll do a sharp like I did before, so the same teardrop type object. And let's see, I'll pull it out to here. Right, there we go. The bones, pose mode. Oh, I forgot to name this bone. So this was shape dot root. Again, I want to part of that shapes collection. Now back into pose mode. Shape dot root. Don't scale it with the bone. And there it is. So now the last one that we're going to be working on is going to be this look target. So I'll position the cursor to selected. Go back in object mode again. I'm going to do something a little bit different for this one. So I'm going to add a plane. This is already oriented the same as the look target, I believe. So we select the look target. Yeah, its axes correspond with the global axis, so we're all right there. So I'll edit this. I will delete only faces to make it a wireframe. Technically, we could just click the only wireframe, but why include extra data when we don't need to? Scale it by 90. Rotate it by 90, rather. Spin this around, and I'm going to make it the same size as the head. Selection to grid. Okay, there we go. And then what I'm going to do, just to have some fun, is I'll duplicate the mesh. I'll do the same thing again. Duplicate, move it, scale it down. That's weird. I don't want to scale the whole thing. Why is it doing this to me? I'm in edit mode. Yeah, normally I have the proportional editing set to connected only. I don't need it right now, so I'll turn it off. Yeah, not used to using it that way. So now I'll scale this down, position it over one of the eyes, selection to grid, duplicate that over here, selection to grid, duplicate, scale x -1, enter. That didn't work. Oh well. Let's see. Actually, it looks like the eyes aren't positioned where they normally would be. So I'm going to I'll take some artistic liberties with this one. This eye's in a little bit. So I'm just going to put in the eyes so that people recognize what it's supposed to be. Yes, that right there looks like it'll be good enough. So I'll take these and scale them up a little bit. Let me turn on x-axis mirroring. Let's see. Oh, so much for that working. Thought it would work in edit mode like that. So yeah, what we'll do is I'll make these a little bit bigger. Actually, let's delete this. Move this one over. There it is. So it's just something cool where you can see the eyes. So that's kind of cool. And then we'll go in and we'll set that to the bone. So we'll do this plane. Don't scale it to the bone, and there it is. And we'll go back into object mode. Rename this shape dot look target control. Make that part of the shape collection and hide the shape collection forever. Okay, so there's our spider. We have all of our shapes set up now. So in the next videos, we'll be getting ready to actually be able to hang on, I just want to make sure I got everything. Yeah, so in the next one, we're going to actually be creating the actions for animating the legs. So we'll actually be animating a little bit for this next one. So anyway, for most rigs, or if we weren't doing that, you could really stop here. This is the most a lot of people would need. Now the IK for the legs might be helpful. For something this simple, I wouldn't go through that work, because then you're going to have IK to FK switching, and it gets complicated for a rig like this. This would be fine in general. Apart from the animation control, this rig would already pretty much be done. So anyway, I'll call it quits for this video, and yeah, the next one will be creating the action constraints.